Hello. Today I'm going to start with a little story to illustrate what I think that you will find useful. Um, so I have a house near a lake, and there's a deck out back. And one day I was sitting out there just kind of enjoying a lemonade, beautiful day, and a friend stops by, which is wonderful. I love when friends stop by. But on this particular day, she brought with her like 4-year-old granddaughter. And I am not a fan of little ones. I think they're adorable. I think they're interesting. I like to watch them. I just really don't like them near me. And I certainly don't like them near me when I'm trying to relax on my deck with some lemonade, right? So, anyway, so she brings this kid, and I'm just thinking, ugh, right, not what I want to deal with today. And sure enough, in classic kid fashion, the child just starts screaming at one point, like screeching this blood curdling screech of noise. And I was just so I look at her to think, what is your problem? Like, what's the screaming about? And she's looking basically at this insect that is on like a table on my deck. So like downloaded a picture of it. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on. It's so we call them up here, we call them eel flies, but I guess they're really called mayflies, right? And you can see they're kind of gross. I mean, they really are. They're just these long kind of eel looking bugs. And so they swarm, they come out in like this mass. I guess they like hatch from wherever they hatch from, and they only hang out for like a day or two, and then they all die. So this was the tail end of their swarmy period. So there was just one sitting on my deck, and apparently it flew or jumped near her, and she's screeching this awful scream. And I'm thinking, I'm not having this, right? And so I turn and I look at her and I say, sweetheart, it's just a bug. It only lives for one day, and it doesn't want you screaming at it. So give it a minute. Like, just let it be. It's not going to hurt you. And she looks at me like, not quite sure, I think, whether or not to believe me, right? Like, because it's a bug and I'm creeped out by it. But anyway, so she looks at me kind of with this look. And then she turns and like puts her face super close, like down to the bug, and starts to study the bug. And she blows on the bug to see like its little wings move, and she becomes really interested in this bug. So fast forward, I'm thinking about that later, and I'm thinking about the role that curiosity can play in our lives, how helpful the simple strength of being curious can be. But it occurs to me, based on my interaction with this little person, we can't be curious if we're not safe, right? So here she is, right? She's come across something that she thinks is unknown. It's unpredictable, it's jumpy, it's weird, it's ugly. She doesn't like whatever this thing is in her environment. And so her reaction is to scream, right? So she wants it away from her. She wants someone to help her. So she kind of makes this noisy scene, looks to the adults around her for support. And the support that's given to her is, you are fine, right? You are safe and you are fine. And once that's established and she sort of agrees, sort of gives me that puzzled look and then goes like, oh, okay, maybe I am safe. She then begins to explore this thing. So it had me thinking about us and grown-ups and dealing with our day and kind of the relationship between safety and curiosity and overall coping. And here's what I'm thinking. When we have those feelings of like screamy, screechy feeling, whether it's because something outside of us has caused us to be like anxious or unsure, or hurt, or right. So there's some negative thing from the outside, some scary thing, some unpredictable thing from the outside kind of causes the like 4-year-old, or inside we're having some kind of feeling of anxiety or feeling like I can't deal with this, or there's some sort of emotional pain or possibly even physical pain, I imagine, right? So there's but you get my drift. Like there's some sort of thing that's happening that I think like is too much for me, and so my reaction is going to be like freak out, whatever that means for you. Is there a way for us to say to ourselves, no, 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 you're fine. You're fine. And remind ourselves that we are safe. And once we sort of establish just even that minimum sense of like safety, can we then be open and curious about that experience? Can we look at it? Can we poke at it? Can we take a look at how it might react if we do this or do that? I'm thinking about like her blowing on the bug, right? Like, so I just wonder about that. And I think that we can. I think that there's a way to do it. And breathing is probably the quickest way to establish safety. So if you bear with me just for this 1 minute and do me a favor, just take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And one more. Now, if you're like me, just that one simple act, 2 breaths, 2 inhales, 2 exhales, I feel a little calmer. I feel a little safer. I wonder if we can use that in our day, in situations, again, not big situations, not trauma, not car accident, not some awful thing, but when we're just a little bit annoyed about the size of the line at the grocery store, or we're a little bit annoyed about the traffic, some little tiny thing, again, just to practice, like I said last time, just to kind of get it started. We're not running a marathon here. Can I take 2 deep breaths in, establish safety inside, and then be curious about why I'm so irritated about the line at the grocery store? Be curious about the traffic. Where are all these people going, I wonder? How long is a light red, I wonder? And again, not distract, right? So not to go somewhere else in your head, not to disconnect, but to actually go deeper into the sensation that you're experiencing. What is it about this moment that causes me to feel irritation, anxiety, pain, the inability to cope, whatever it is? Become curious about that feeling inside. And I think most times, if not all times, that we're experiencing some kind of negative tension, looking at it and being curious about it causes it to dissipate. We then come to the realization that it isn't more than we can handle. We can handle it. In fact, it's sort of interesting to look at if I look at it for a while. So I think that's my kind of thought for you today, is that link between curiosity and safety, and how when the two of them are together, when we're safe, can we then be curious about those negative emotions, about even physical pain, I think. If something's hurting on you, can you look at it? Can you go into it and take a look and say, it's kind of on the outside of my knee and a little bit into my thigh, and become interested in learning more about the experience and learning more about the feeling instead of feeling this need to push it away or distract from it. Learn about it, understand it. And in doing so, I really think if we do that, again, little tiny moments, if we're able to do that, I think what we do is we train ourselves to recognize that we can handle what comes our way. That being irritated in a grocery store line is not a big deal. In fact, it's sort of interesting if I want to spend a little time and look at it myself, being irritated about it, having a little pain in my knee, being a little bit anxious before I'm about to do something that I don't do all the time. And we teach ourselves that I'm okay here and I can experience things that are uncomfortable. I can learn from those things that are uncomfortable. And even the story I just told you, right? In some sort of way, I was uncomfortable with a 4-year-old on my deck. And yet I took the time, after the fact, mind you, to become curious about what that moment taught me about me and what that moment taught me about life. And so even though in the moment I did not see it as a valuable experience, looking back on it and being curious about that child and about her curiosity, I learned something about myself and hopefully something helpful to you. So, curiosity today. Maybe this week, right? Maybe every day this week or until you come back. When you're having some negative experience, what's it about? Establish safety, probably simply through breathing. Remind yourself that you're safe. Nothing's going to hurt you. And then look at it. Just take a look. So be well and be safe and give it a shot. Be a little curious.